Welcome to another episode of Kookievision. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make nachos and cheese with some spicy jalapenos. Now to start, I'm going to make the jalapeno slices, which are probably the most fun part. And you know me, I like to use two consistencies and piping tips when it comes to decorating my cookies. But for this little project, I'm actually going to be using some tipless piping bags. And my favorite brand is Truly Mad Plastics. I'm going to start out with a nice bright green color and a medium consistency royal icing, also known as a 20-second consistency. It's kind of like a happy medium between flooding and piping consistency, but I know I get a lot of questions about consistencies, so I'll be doing a video on this in the near future. And with these tipless piping bags, all you need to do is snip off the pointy end with a pair of sharp scissors. So onto the piece of parchment, I'm piping a bunch of circles. This will be the outside of the jalapeno slices. And they don't have to be perfect. They can be kind of oblong or oval or wonky, just like real jalapenos. And you can go ahead and do different sizes as well. For the membranes of the jalapeno, I'm using a medium consistency royal icing in a very light green, so white with just a hint of green. And I'm basically creating either 3 or 4 spokes in the middle of the jalapeno. Again, they don't have to be perfect, this just adds in making them look a little bit more natural. For the seeds, I'm using a stiff consistency, light brown royal icing. I'm going to be piping the seeds really close together, and I don't want them to seep into the royal icing we've already piped, so a nice stiff consistency is what we want. I've cut the hole in the tip a little bit smaller than the other 2 bags so that I can get a really tiny seed, and I'm just piping tiny little dots all over the membrane. To save time, you could also use really tiny sprinkles, but I think hand piping the seeds looks a little bit more realistic. You'll want to let these jalapenos dry for 3 to 6 hours or so, depending on how dry your climate is. You can always test them by trying to peel one off the parchment. It should come off pretty easily. Once they've dried, you can put them in an airtight container and use them for all sorts of future projects. As long as you store them in a nice dry place, they'll last almost indefinitely. For the chips, I hand cut these sugar cookies using a sharp knife and basically just made a series of triangles in all sorts of different sizes. I'm using a piping consistency golden yellow royal icing fitted with a number 2 tip to outline the tortilla chip, and then I'm filling them in with a flooding consistency royal icing of the same color, this time in a squeeze bottle. I've used a squeeze bottle with a coupler attachment and a number 4 tip, but a regular squeeze bottle will work as well. Use your scribe tool to get all the icing towards the edges and corners and pop any air bubbles. To avoid color bleeding for this next step, I've let my chips dry for about 6 hours or overnight. To give them a little bit of texture, I'm splattering them with a mixture of chocolate brown gel dye and a touch of vodka with a clean brush. If you're worried about alcohol content, don't be. It is just a carrier to dilute the gel dye and make it paintable, and it will completely evaporate. For the cheese, I'm using an orange medium consistency royal icing fitted with a number 3 tip. You could also use a tipless bag for this, and I'm making random globs of cheese all over the nachos. To get this color, I added a touch of red to my orange. Most orange dyes are very, very yellow, and adding a touch of red really gives you that nice deep orange, artificial and delicious cheese from a giant can color. You could make drips down the sides too, and by now your jalapenos should be nice and dry, so you can scatter them all over the cheese while it's wet. If you're making a set, you could leave some of your nachos without jalapenos or without cheese to make them look a little bit more realistic. If you've got some jalapenos left over, they'd make great garnish for another snack, some tacos, which you can find in my video library. So thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like me on Facebook and on Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube for more videos in the future. My name's Kookie, and I'll talk to you next time.